their origins and recognize that when you look at them, you will see them originating in theft and robbery, rape and murder. Those of you who even read the Bible will look and see the Israelites taking another people's land. Even though they said they were promised that land, they still had to fight and they still had to run the inhabitants out. The inhabitants didn't say, welcome Israelites, it's yours, we're going somewhere else. No, they had to fight war. And you'll see later on, some of you heard Reverend Butts talking this week, where their God told them that they had the right to go into other nations and kill everything living. Cats, dogs, mules, cows, the whole bit. And wipe them out completely. And if some of you know the story of Samuel, you will see what happened there to King Saul when he decided to bring back some animals. And Samuel says, what? I told you to kill what? Everything. And Saul said, well, these are nice, how can we kill all of these? He had never to bring back the king of the country. He says, no, the rule was what? You destroy everything. And he sat there, and Samuel sat there and chopped the king up right on the spot. And of course, Saul was punished with madness and everything else. What am I trying to say? That we often forget origins. And we often forget that the origins of nations becomes a part of those nations' character. Just as our individual origins as children, and children in families and children in communities becomes a part of our adult personalities. The past still remains with us and an operating part of our present. So we see then the origin of America in the murder and the destruction of nations. America began as one of the most dastardly crimes against humanity that has ever been visited upon people. That origin is still in America today. It is the refusal of this society to face up to that original murder and death. It is this society's ongoing attempt to rationalize its killing and murder of Indians that has skewed its whole consciousness today, its morality and its values. They have sought to cover over those criminal activities. And in covering over those criminal activities and denying the original criminal activities, in rationalizing those criminal activities, they lie to the people of this nation and they create a false consciousness and a false sense of reality in the people of this nation, and consequently they continue their crimes and they stimulate ongoing crime within their own society. The other origin of this nation, of course, is the enslavement of our people. The extortion of the labor from our people. The manslaughter of our people as they came across the Middle Passage. The misuse and abuse of our people. This nation then was found upon the degradation of two major sets of people, Africans and Native Americans. This country today is still trying to deal with its origins. Someone tells me this current movie, Dancing with Wolves? You'll see a nation going through the same kinds of attempts to cope with guilt and conflict as you see in individuals. One of the mechanisms individuals use when they're dealing with conflicts and traumatic events in their lives, of course, is fantasy. And in a sense, we can look at movies as a type of fantasy. They have never come to terms with what they did to Indians. So now, of course, they're going to try to repay their debt for the dastardly deeds they did by running a movie and projecting the image of the Indian in a positive sort of way. I haven't seen the movie, that's what they tell me that they're trying to do there. You see? But fantasizing and getting engaged. So now, instead of movies where the cowboys and the other people just go right out and slaughter them, and use a theme that's quite interesting in and of itself, that is, we killed the Indians because they were savages. We never quite think about the irony of that kind of statement, right? In other words, we savaged them because they were savage. We killed them because they were savage. And many of us sat in movies and took that philosophy in. So the people who were doing the killing and the murdering of a whole nation were doing it for the good. And so we get the phrase, the only good Indian is a what? A dead Indian. You see. And now we see the nation wrestling with this fantasy, renaming the Indians and doing movies and so forth. But it won't wash. It won't wash. We see again then the fantasies that it plays with in terms of African Americans. Now what am I saying then? That as you say in your churches, as we say in psychotherapy, it becomes very important in order for the person to escape their sinful existence, to escape the psychopathology that may be dogging them. It becomes important for them to literally fess up, to come clean and confess their sins, and to atone for what they have done, and to admit the wretchedness of their existence. However, as long as the sinner, as long as the neurotic continues to deny, continues to distort, continues to rationalize, they in a sense then continue to cause abuse and trouble. And they continue to do harm and violence to people with which they're in contact. So in a sense then, since white America has not yet admitted its sinful nature, admitted its criminal nature, since it tries to rationalize its basic criminality, it must then continue to project criminality on other people. It must, in a sense, try to make African people responsible for their own enslavement, just as it tries to make the Indian responsible for their own decimation. In other words, then, you have a racist psychological character assassination that is ongoing. The continuing assassination of African people, which you're talking about here today in terms of the Post and other newspapers, the continuing assassination of African people on radio, TV, magazines, and every medium is an attempt for whites to continue to justify the original crime of enslaving and abusing black people. And consequently then, as long as they can assassinate the characters of our people, as long as they can project that we are innately criminal, that we are innately inferior, they can feel justified in terms of what they have done to us and what they are doing to us and what they will do to us as a people. In order to deny their own criminality, they must then project that criminality on to other people. And you will see then a standard feature of white American society is that of projecting criminality on non-white people. Black people, Indians, Iraqis, it doesn't matter. As a matter of fact, a part of the New World Order is to demonize the Third World and use that world as a means for attacking it and exploiting it and maintaining empirical control over it. And it will do that by demonizing and criminalizing non-white people. We've seen it in Panama, we've seen it in Grenada, and as I mentioned, we've seen it in Iraq. And now you can bet your bottom dollar that these people are in search of other enemies at this point. Because you see, ladies and gentlemen, the military-industrial complex is a complex that needs a chronic enemy, because that complex has become so vital to American economic stability. And so consequently, the nation literally has to stay in a permanent war mode if it's not to undergo drastic reorganization of its social and political system. Consequently, then, it is literally forced to demonize other people and to criminalize other people as a basis for maintaining its own economic and social system. And this is what we're talking about then when we talk about a scapegoat psychology. Some people were baffled when Bush, in the matter of a month or two, could turn Hussein from a friend into a devil. But when you understand what we call real politics, it's nothing baffling about it at all. Because the one constant that goes on in foreign policy is that of self-interest. And that's the only thing you're concerned with. If it maintains